Is this even audible? Okay, that's a good sign. The stream setup was broken after I did the other stream. So okay, restart that. And we'll look at this. Okay, distributed looking with Consul from 2017. Do they still support this? Is actually a question. Distributed lots. A session in Consul represents a contract that has very specific semantics. So, one in one line. How you doing? How's things? I managed to wake up this morning. It's like when I wake up and I don't realize it before I start streaming. I've got doggy nose prints on my glasses. And then when I put the light in my eyes from the what's it called? The light thing, the big light up there. It's gonna be one of them days. Gotta remember to pack glasses wipes for tomorrow as well. Oh, joy. JetBrains Rider has failed to start. Things are going well. I'm still moving up on ArcGIS stuff. Fun. It's not a ring light. It's an Elgato thing. I can't remember the name. Okay. So, I do remember setting traps. Often you write scripts which fail. This is right. Actually, do I need an invented here thing? Do I need do I need this? Manage NuGet packages. Don't enforce this one. It's updated. I've got a horrible feeling. Well, not a horrible feeling. A feeling that I might actually not need this. This great console project. Let's add that library. I'm procrastinating a little bit with this because I know that I don't need this right this second. Oh, but having worked on the sorry, having worked on the um, deployment to Kubernetes um, over the weekend a little bit, I decided to do a little bit of focus on this because this will matter. The distributed lots. If I scale out the providers and stuff, not the providers, We're gonna have one of them days. Morning Delta, by the way. That's project time. Yeah. I just wanted to see if so console client equals new console client. Big first to config dot. You're right, Benjamins. Okay. Namespace. Property in class. Wow, that's well documented. Client dot. Quite a lot. There we go. That was what I was thinking. And then that has a key. Okay. Lock options. Lock retry time. Lock wait time. That's okay. So I was thinking that I would have to implement, right? Which is fine. But someone's already done it for me in the form of this library. So I need to learn how to configure it. So right now I'm using a semaphore slim when I'm doing acquire, but I need to put an abstraction. I want to put an abstraction around Consul still, I think. Do I really care? I'm heavily leaning into Consul at this point. And that's a big concern, right? I'm building a lot of my stuff around Consul. Which I should check on something. Actually, corporate. Okay. Because yeah, service mesh. So I've just used this up until now, right? But self-managed, always free. Okay. Because obviously that's a concern. If I'm building a lot of my infrastructure around one product, because at this point I actually rely upon Consul as much as I rely upon Kafka, right? Now Kafka, I do know that if I was to go to a production system, I can't do a self-hosted Kafka, right? I'm going to end up using Confluent Cloud, right? Confluent IO, there you go. I'm going to end up using Confluent Cloud. Right, but I can always manage, I can still self-manage Consul for what I'm using Consul for. I don't need to scale out, right? Enterprise is not going to be free. Absolutely not. But let's see. 27 point, so 2.7 cents per hour. Start for free. Price scales with active server instances. Yeah, so they have a right. But I'm using Consul for now. I'm using Consul not only for the key value store. I use it for Ocelot for my API gateway, which I could probably drop eventually, especially if I do move to using something like Aspire, which as of right this second doesn't look like I'm going to do. I'm still looking into how to deploy with Kubernetes with Aspire because I want to do a Kubernetes from Aspire and a Kubernetes from Pulumi. deployments. I can compare and contrast the benefits. Right now, I think Aspire has some great benefits in terms of dashboard, but you lose in the overall. You start to build your infrastructure around Aspire. But again, I'm building it around anything anyway. Core is one in Apex, by the way. Oh, so yeah, Confluent Cloud pricing. Mhm. Yeah. Ooh, that pricing went up quite heavily. That pricing went up a lot since I last looked at this. Oof. I mean, if you're charging a subscription fee per user and you need standard, then it'll pay itself back. But ooh, yeah. Afternoon, popping in to say hi whilst all things burn down. Oh no. Hope things aren't going too badly. Okay, so let's do this. Do I have a story card open? Errors everywhere. Won't last forever. Just keep a cool head. You'll be fine. Not errors with the new stuff, right? Okay. So did T99 technically, right? GitHub.com, TV, develop, Liquid Sky. Yeah, it's been merged T99, so I did T99. When I've read a message, you should not. We're going to get around to that part. I found a Tetris speedrunning video on YouTube. Very interesting. They found 3 different ways to hold the controller to get high scores. Well, that's the thing we don't always know, but most of the time it's not. Okay, that sounds scarier. Introduce Consul distributed blocks. So that we're ready to move to. This story, by the way, is exactly an argument for technical stories, right? This is you can't have this as a customer focused story because it wouldn't make sense. Did Hexic's post get you on that? Hexic wrote the AI to play the Tetris game that they wrote. You went down a rabbit hole, did you? Introduce Consul current lock mechanism acquire pattern in view that only supports I happened to be watching the documentary yesterday. I'm going to watch a bunch of those types of videos. I can already tell. I've been watching a lot of recently. My YouTube feed is filled with a lot of um, competitive eaters, specifically two from the UK, Leah Shotkiva and Beard Meats Food, and I just find them fascinating. And my wife's like, "Don't you find that disgusting?" I'm like, I don't honestly think I'm watching for the food, the eating part. I'm just enjoying the interaction and the fun that they have with everybody else. Yeah, Beer Meats Food is awesome. I lived in Leeds for a while, so a nice familiar. Yeah, uh, it's just funny. So I don't really pay much attention to the eating anyway. It never makes me hungry. Does make me miss a good English breakfast though. Getting tired of my regular subjects of spreading my wings into gaming. Yeah. To I didn't take a dependency on Consul for my Kafka stuff. I probably should replace that because then the API is standard. When was the last time you came out to UK? 2022 is the last time. Right now, I don't know when the next time will be either. I think we might investigate uh, dog sitters later this year and maybe come over next year. Be nice to go back. So we need this the library. T100. Run Terminator numbers. Okay. So we don't need to do much there. Open, close solution. Show an explorer. I'm going to clean that up so I don't end up with a left behind project. Let's open Liquid Sky. Okay, let's create a branch. Feature T100. Uh-oh. My keyboard just went all wonky. New branch. Feature T100. Console distributed lots. This is going to be hard to test. So this you could argue is a little bit Yagni, right? Or rather, um, at the very least, don't overcomplicate things. Um, it's a little premature in that I don't have a distributed system quite yet, but I do want to be able to test the scale out when I get to Kubernetes. I want to be able to bring up to consumers for the view, etc. So this is going to be important. Seems similar to testing a queue. Right, but the scenario that it occurs in is not an easy one to validate. It is not an easy one to test. Open recent, this one. Oh, the message is two-way. It's not so much the scenario this occurs in is I get one message from one queue before I get one message from another queue that will have been created at similar times. I can't disable one queue and validate that the lock is working properly. So the only way of actually reasonably testing this is to load up the system a little bit and make it have to process more. So the scenario is I get a tenant user record before I get a tenant, or I get a user record before I have a tenant user record or something. So yeah, it's a little bit of a hard situation to just test. That needs to be brought down. Did he just close that window as well? Recent. What am I doing here? Okay. Sorry, I'm just checking. Yeah. I have to fly tomorrow. The first time in in that 2 years as well. So checking in. That wasn't good. So that was bringing down the services for that. So open recent Liquid Sky now. And we can bring Liquid Sky up. All services, yeah. So I have the different configurations for the different things I'm working on. And I've been playing with Game Trove stuff over the weekend because I was doing the Kubernetes deployment using Game Trove. Also learned that Blazor and Aspire aren't the best of friends, which is amusing because you can't do hot reload doesn't always work, and .NET Watch doesn't function quite effectively against Aspire because you need to bring everything up, especially if you've got APIs and stuff, because you need all the service discovery stuff up and running. So it makes it a little bit messier to use Blazor. Okay, so that's up and running. I probably shouldn't do that because if I bring it works when I bring it down, it just errors. Okay, so that's up and running. So I kind of don't want to take a dependency here because these are basically this acquire base is where I'm going to replace this out. So instead of having a wait semaphore, wait async, I'm going to do the acquire lock and use that, right? So Consul .NET acquire lock. Deluxe. Wow. Wow. That's that's quite the documentation there. Consul does feel like um, one of those libraries or one of those tools that is doing too many things. So you can use Consul as a key value store. You can use it as a distributed lock system. I mean, they can kind of go hand in hand. I get that part, but it's also a service discovery platform, or how do they put it? Actually, made the same typo again. Did I just products? Oh, Consul, yeah. Service discovery. Secure community network automation across multiple cloud and runtime environments. What was the article I found? What was the thing I found before then? Features. It feels like an everything tool for certain. But either way, okay, we're gonna use that. So I'm not sure I want to necessarily use that exactly. So do I put it in shared? I have extensions console, but that's for those are deliberately for extensions. That's why they're all labeled as extensions. The system still take an actual dependency on that. Do I put it in shared kernel? Because ultimately what we need is this semaphore instance exists on Mojo. Exists when you do this, it creates an instance per implementation, right? So this semaphore will be for the acquire planning item or the acquire attachment or acquire project. But if I do this, if I follow this pattern, if I use this and inject a lock service, then I need an identifier. Because you can't, I don't want to lock it for everything. If I'm acquiring a project and something comes in and does attachments, I don't want to block attachments from being processed. I don't want to call it a lock service. That's horrible. That's about as generic as it gets from a naming perspective. I don't want to say distributed lock. I just want to say lock. It doesn't matter because I could actually implement a default implementation and use semaphore, and swap it out, and then just be comfortable that that's working. So if I hit any bugs with the other one, I can still fall back on it. And even locally, I don't need to be using Consul for that process if I'm running a dev, right? I don't need a Consul. I mean, I need a Consul instance set up regardless, but uh, What is this? I'm just going to do this right a second. Not sure I like that, but acquire lock. No, it's a bad name because the actual method on the service is acquire lock. I like that. When I write, I mean, ultimately, I'm going to say await. Um, I'm going to do something like that, and then I'm going to do service.release. I uh, sounds so generic. I don't. Let's just do it. Okay, so this is going to be task acquire lock cancellation token, right? Um, we need some sort of unique identifier here. Do we want a GUI? Do we want a name? Do we want what do we want? String service identifier. Lock identifier. Let's go with that for right now. And then task release lock. So then in here, we inject lock service, acquire lock. This is where this is going to get tricky. So we need protected abstract string. That would be lock identifier. Okay, so only acquire attachment right now uses this method, so that's okay. And then this would be lock service dot release lock. Okay, let's write that service. So then this needs to have iLock service, which is okay. iLock service. Then this needs to implement that, which is going to be acquire attachment. That builds. Now let's create a console wrapper around lock. And it is kind of shared kernel. Locks. Console lock service. Okay, so this is going to take console client. It doesn't feel necessarily bad to take a dependency on console, considering how much I'm using it. It just doesn't. I'm not sure I want it as a core component in this way. Console client, but we'll see how it feels. The worst happens, to remove it. Right. So await console client. Now let's have a look at what this actual interface looks like. Dot. So acquire lock. It returns a distributed lock. The key we can do lock identifier cancellation token. That's fine. So var lock equal var at lock. Rider does not like that. So that gives me a handle to release. Still asynchronous. Let's try await console client dot. Yeah, that's interesting. Lock allows only one thread to enter the path that's locked, and lock is not shared with any of the processes. A lock must be released by the same thread. So hold on. If I do await console client dot acquire semaphore, I can have up to right. So in this case, I actually want to return it back to lock behavior. So I have semaphore because locking.net is not thread safe, right? So it won't know if I lock in a different. Well, it's not a async await safe. It's thread safe. It's just not async await safe. So use semaphore slim for that. Whereas this, I actually want the lock because I don't want anybody trying to acquire this. So I do want the lock. But the challenge is that now I have to wrap. So the release lock isn't actually on the console's the lock service. So by doing this, I'm really creating a wrapper that I have to adhere to someone else's API. Now, I can't just inject this because if I inject this, then I have to mock this for testing. And I do have tests around acquire, so I do have to do something. So I don't think I have a choice there. But you can't release a lock through the client. You have to have a handle on the lock. Create lock. Acquire lock. So we're not using semaphore, that's okay. So this has to be some sort of reference to that, which means I end up creating yet another interface for. I have to create it, making this more complicated. Can't, Ryder, just let me do it. I clearly mean it. I need to write some sort of adapter. Document your APIs. That makes me worry. But that's why I do an iLock service. Because essentially we have to do document too soon. Okay, so we need to do iLock service, can't have that, right? Public interface iLock handle, which has task release, right? And then we need public class. This is horrible. Consul task. Consul lock handle, which takes an I distributed lock. Lock, which is I lock handle. And then await if lock dot is held, await lock dot release. Yes, I realize that I am hello puppy dog. Okay. I realize that I'm just literally rewriting, like just wrapping their API, but again, it will give me this. So this one is going to do a. So we now need acquire lock to return a task of iLock handle, right? Which just means this, and then turn new console lock handle. We don't need that anymore. And then this will be var lock. Then lock release. Okay, so semaphore block service. That's a horrible name. Default block service. iLock service. So public class default lock. Handle takes a semaphore slim. The problem is I'm using the word semaphore and lock are two different concepts. So it feels weird to do that, but iLock handle, and then this will be await. Well, it'd be just semaphore slim dot place. task. So this would be problem with that is I need that to be. I can't do it this way because the semaphore slim works in a very different way. I can't do this. I can't implement it. I've changed the implementation forever by doing this. I can't do this. And that lock service, even if I made it a singleton, it would have to track who is asking for it. I'd have to build in all the behavior. So right now, I'm not going to panic about that behavior. Okay, so we need. So acquire attachment, you see how all we needed to know is how to create the entity here. The acquire base actually does all the things, right? It says, okay, acquire the lock, then go and check the repository that we provided, then go and if it's not null, then return the ID. If it is null, then we create the entity, we add it to the repository. It's all generic, right? So we just need to modify these to be the same as this. So that's an acquire base handler. So instead of being a command handler, it's an I acquire base. That's that. And there needs to be acquire base.command, yeah. What did you go wrong there? Project. Bot service. And command is an acquired base dot command int. Oh yeah, it needs the ID. Oh, I have a dog right underneath my feet. So now acquire project doesn't need, it just needs this. And we can remove that. And implement base members. So we just need that and that. So that's turn. Right. Because again, for every entity, we just need an identifier and then a blank document. So this is how to create a blank document. And this is acquire object. And now all this code is gone. Acquire project is there. Repeat. So it's an acquire base command int. It's an identifier. This becomes an acquire base dot handler of tenant command int takes the lock repository, the lock service, Why don't you like that? View base ID identifier. So those two are on the default. Then don't need, we just need that. Then return that identifier. That's acquire tenant. And then it's that, and then this can be removed. I'll stop complaining. Acquire user, similar thing. Oh, exact same thing. Acquire base dot command int user identifier. This is a acquire base dot handler of user and int. You got to specify the key type because there are for attachments they're longs because there could be a lot of them. I mean, it's wishful thinking, thinking there's going to be more than 4 billion, but it's I deliberately made it a lot bigger. Let service, let service. User suffers the same thing. View base. We can make that 2 fields. Hello, dog. What's the matter? You still not getting my breakfast? Then we implement. Becomes acquire user. Take this code, paste that there. Then we can remove all that. There we go. Acquire one more. Acquire base and int identifier. At the very least, if this doesn't work, I can put the semaphore back in and it will function across all of them. And then when I change it later. So the goal of these is they're very generic. They're deliberately generic behavior. Can I find the thing by this identifier? No, I can't. Let's create a record for it. But again, multiple could come in at the same time. So the 3 different requests could hit at the same time, request the tenant. Only one of them should actually create the tenant. The other 2 should wait and then acquire the tenant and then be given the tenant ID back, right? So that's why we do have to do this thing. So this is a planning item, which likely doesn't implement the view base yet because it's just I just got lucky in that first one. I probably decided to use it, but not actually implemented it. Repository. Oh no, this one I did inherit from. We need that. Hey, it's coding. How you doing? I think I'll be comfortable enough to contribute this weekend. Nice. Well, whenever you're ready, module, we can chat. I haven't pushed because it's a lot to take in, but should be in a good place this weekend to start talking about that because these branches. Doing fine. How's progress? Progress is okay today. I'm just putting in distributed locking. I don't need it yet, but I want to make sure the system's configured for it. As I was playing with Kubernetes and stuff over the weekend, so yeah, so let's go through there and clean them up as well. Probably need to do a decide on an auto clean there. Okay, so the test of this. Build that. Mojo, did you decide if you're going to stream in the mornings? By the way, in the 3 days I'm now not streaming. So I missed yesterday because I fell asleep and late and well, I woke up early and fell back asleep. There you go. See, our unit tests are broken. But then I'm traveling tomorrow and I will be arriving back in Jersey very early Friday morning. So I will not be streaming Friday morning. So I will return next week. So we need to do some mocks here. Yeah, Mojo streams. Morning, Patrick. How you doing? Mojo was threatening to take up my 719 slot. That's 3 days. uh So this is gonna be an interesting one because I can't follow my own standards. That's awesome. I gotta repeat the same test, and they're all based off the same code. So technically, the right way to do this, right, is probably not to update these tests in this way. Because I spent 2 hours yesterday trying to figure out how to self-host a web API in .NET Framework. Impossible to find anything past all .NET. Yeah, that's often a problem, the noise. Especially with the evolution of .NET the way it has been over the past 5 years. There is a lot of stuff to weed through to figure out what version am I actually talking about here, isn't there? Yeah, I can imagine that's a challenge. Yeah. You get it working in the end, though? I mean, you said you spent 2 hours, so I assume you did. I'm able to swing tomorrow on Friday. I have a dishwasher tech coming in tomorrow, so that's my excuse to stay home. Yeah, I've never entirely sorted out the differences between .NET Framework, Standard Core, and the current version law. Oh, .NET Framework, original .NET. Standard is a set of libraries that a standardization of certain pieces with the .NET definitions to make sure it works across multiple versions. Core was the first cross-platform version developed post Xamarin acquisition when Miguel de Queza, who had also worked on building Mono, the Mono framework, which is another implementation of .NET, right? And the current version is all those lessons learned in a new form and an evolution of .NET Core. So yeah, .NET Framework is very tied to Windows. Standard is a set of libraries aimed at allowing them to go more cross-platform and less more compatible. And .NET Standard still works with so .NET Standard works with .NET Core and .NET Framework as well. So it gives that bridge. But not all APIs are supported in .NET Standard, so it's a subset of the libraries that are supported. As far as unit testing goes, technically, I only need to test one of these for the lock. I don't know if I can unit. I don't think it's a unit test. I think an integration test would be better here for testing the if I'm trying to update the same entity, acquire the same entity at the same time, then if the lock appears on one, then the other one can't fetch it. I very much feel that. Yeah. C++ DL that I need to integrate with, which for reasons I've never been able to figure out, will throw all kinds of access errors and can't find any functions if it's imported into .NET 6 or .NET Core. I didn't think the interrupt stuff had changed, but I'm not. It's been a long time since I did anything to integrate with any external libraries like that. Okay. That's going to be enough to get that moving forward. Let's be consistent. Private lot service, no. Yeah, forget about Owen. Yeah. Hey Sally, how you doing? Not mind me, but I'll just do a bit of copy and paste. Again, I'm not sure this is the right thing to do, actually. Because every single one of these is now based off the same base class. So whatever I base it off, I could write a stub class that implements the thing and test that. I don't think there's much value in these. The only thing that I need to test, I need to test. Technically, I can delete these. Wow, I was not very consistent there. when attachment exists. When it does not exist. Jump sim with a huge parachute with a big bug log open and 10 meters over the floor. The parachute bugs around and kind of hits full hard. It's less though. Oh no. I'm a caring, compassionate person. What are you chewing? What are you chewing? Get off the cardboard. Yay. Yeah. We don't eat cardboard. Go get some actual food. I've got some big brown eyes looking at me. How's the fight against the bugs going? We're winning. We increase the front with more features. We are trying to introduce some distributed locking today, just so it's ready when I finally figure out this scale out thing. I wanted to make sure it's in place and not relying on the semaphore while I was thinking about it. The irony is, just before I started the stream, and I swear this is not me trying to copy this. This posted 1 minute before I started the stream. Or fitting the front with more tests. Well, I'm trying to make these tests effective because right now they're all based on the same base class and all the same behavior. So all I need to do is each one needs to test that when it doesn't exist, it creates an entity. So it calls the create. So these tests should still pass straight afterwards. Fortifying. Yeah. But I did just remove a bunch of tests. So I was doing a bit of forfeiting as well. So yeah, these tests are these are the valid ones because they actually validate that when we do call create, the thing is created in the form that I expect it to be created, right? So these should still remain. Just the does not exist. Does exist. It doesn't need to be there because I'm going to test a generic behavior against the base class. So we should have a build. I haven't said it today, but if you are new to the stream, if you've not been in here before and you are interested in learning a little bit more about what I'm doing, it can look kind of intimidating, but I promise it's not as bad as you might think. You're more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to join in the conversation. I am always happy to talk about things, and if you feel that you have knowledge I don't, I'm happy to learn. It's like, yeah, we have 50% test success, 50% fails, delete 50% of the test. Yeah, 0% succeeds now. Yeah. Okay, so all our tests passed there. Let's run the entire suite actually, because I haven't done that yet. There is a commit hook, not a commit hook, a GitHub action that fires. So when I do a push, all the unit tests will be run. So that at least keeps me honest there. Okay, so we need Is it a stub? Let's go learn stub versus mock versus fake. Okay, let's see how many opinions we can get. Okay, so from Martin Fowler, fake objects actually have working implementations, but usually take some shortcut, which makes them not suitable for production. Stubs provide canned answers to calls made during the test, usually not responding at all to anything outside what's programmed. Mocks are what we're talking about here, objects pre-programmed with expectations. Okay, so I need a fake. Fake view entity. Hello, little one. What's the matter? You go see Emma? Every time I open Twitter, I see people firing shots at OOP and unit testing. I really don't get why. I guess some people have had bad experiences. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I need to no. Sorry about that. I put because it's very opinionated when you do them wrong, they're increasing the work a lot. If you live through OOP days in the late 90s and early 2000s, you understand. Personally, I see a lot of advantages to OOP anymore. There are a couple of paradigms decrease the complexity that OOP brings. I think as taught then it was bad pattern for many situations to the point that even OOP langs have moved away from many of the stuff once taught as best practice. Morning trap, by the way. Yeah. Different experiences, right? Different I don't want fake view entity. Yeah, I do want fake view entity. So I need a public class fake view. I mean, people are opinionated in general over all sorts of stuff. I think that if you feel comfortable in writing software, I don't care how you write the software. It it needs to be maintainable. It needs to be clean. It needs to solve the problems, but at the same time be easier to change, not necessarily quick to change. I'd rather take a code base that is understood by its developers and is not full of lies and garbage than a code base written in a specific style or even a specific language, right? Paradigms specifically on which language have you found embraces those paradigms well? It's generally not unit test people have problems with its TDD or the fashion of testing that tries to test every little thing, including assuming internal behaviors. I think people take TDD. I think people take unit testing and drive like straight to extremes. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Just as long as care and attention is taken to designing the code and making sure the code is maintainable, that's really all I care about anymore. Like unit testing, yeah, I like doing my unit tests. Am I super strict on these? No. There's code I've written that's not. No, no, no. Absolutely perfectly fine for this stream. It's absolutely perfectly fine topic of discussion, and you benefit from having people with different experiences and different appreciations for the pros and cons, right? So it's absolutely perfectly fine. No need to apologize. Um, I mean, the internet's full of opinions anyway, right? Some people love to just spout their opinions as being the only way, and they criticize everything else. Some people who understand that more and can appreciate you know, the approaches, then uh, I think most people associate unit testing with the extreme, right? They associate it with, oh, everything has to be tested, and you can't write code without a test, and we then focus on metrics, and we make them management metrics, right? We focus on coverage, and we have to have so much coverage, but then we end up using cheats to get around that coverage because we don't. Yeah. Language doesn't matter at this point because almost all languages are good at multiple paradigms. Functional programming, for example, when you do real functional idempotent programming, then it's much easier to understand and read. One method does its job. It defines what goes in, what goes out. When you have an object, you need to take care what are the superclasses that overrides this method. Change needs to check dependencies. There's also some good code which simply cannot be reasonably unit tested. And the idea that code is only allowed if it can be unit tested also seems silly to me. And I think when we try to hold to those things to the extreme, maybe we're not capable of doing it. Maybe we don't understand how to do it, right? I don't think that we should cheat. I think we should be realistic about what we do and don't know and write the code we do know in the way we know and just make it so it's maintainable. Take care, pay attention, take care. I don't care you know, if you've not done a lot of unit testing, and that might be a hard challenge because writing good unit tests is just as difficult as writing, you know, code. Um, it is. I mean, a lot of things are treat the unit tests as production code, right? So you should treat them with the care and attention you do. Um, but we're not all equipped to deal with all the same things. So, um, yeah, I think you just got to be pragmatic and focus on the quality of the code you are writing rather than the adhering to standards you're not capable of doing. If an organization says we need to be doing unit testing, fine. Let's go off and do some training on unit testing. Let's get a consultant in and help guide us on how to introduce good unit testing in our practice, in our process. Get all that help so that you don't have to try and figure it out on your own. Because I think that's where we all fail is we try to figure these things out, or we try to jam things into our processes that we don't fully comprehend, because we're trying to make things better, and what we end up doing is making yet more complexity. So whenever I see a blog post trying to support unit testing in TDD, there's regularly some line about how well designed projects must be able to have any of not every bit tested. I mean, if you are capable of doing it, then I can imagine that a good code base does have quite a high coverage. I don't believe that 100% coverage is ever going to be, uh, well, I can't say ever, but now I've got one line in my head with absolutes. But I think good coverage, not a bad thing. Trust me. Um, but again, we're not all capable. Um, Unit tests are useful for refactorability so that you can change the code with a better feeling, because the old cases that was once thought through which still work. Unit tests aren't for checking if the code you currently wrote works, because you would still test this code anyway manually right after you wrote it in the first place. You'd think, wouldn't you? You'd think. Not always the case though. Not all developers are that I won't say competent, but thorough. Let's go with thorough. Um yeah. But unit tests do help with regression. But again, unit tests are only as good as the person writing them, right? So if you've got people who are not comfortable with unit testing, they're going to write unit, like my unit tests aren't perfect here. I know they're not. They're not covering a lot. They're catching some little things, but they're not covering everything they need to do. So um it's a challenge. So and you've got to learn, you've got to grow with it. And I think an organization that expects high coverage but doesn't give any guidance on how to write unit tests is expecting cheats. So it's not going to be any. It's no better than um, just telling them to hack the code in the first place. Good devs should definitely be running tests of some kind for all the code, even if it's not unit tests. Those are in trouble developing unit tests for event-driven frameworks. Because I think if you base it off events, like here, I can't write unit tests for the events, the distributed components, right? I'm going to have to write some form of integration testing that implements messages or injects messages and validates that they get pulled out and stuff. So integration testing of this is going to be a little bit challenging. But yeah, I think we got to. I think coming back around on Sally's question, um, I just think that a lot of people love having opinions. Um, Fine, have your opinions. I don't need to write my code to your standards. Okay, so we have public record command. Okay, it's a GUID identifier, and it is a acquire base.command of fake view entity. No, it's an int, right? Int identifier public class handler I lock service repository of fake view entity. Acquire base dot handler fake view entity command int lock service repository. That's that. Um, I have Kafka test with Spring Boot in the background. It's kind of hard to test, but to be honest, my unit tests aren't clean anyway. I almost make only integration tests. Yeah, I agree with you. You should do what is pragmatic. I do love other people's opinions since I like to test my own against them and possibly integrate some of those opinions to my own practices. The thing I don't like is what you mentioned earlier, people passing off their opinions the one right way. And there's a lot of that, right? Um, but, and gonna sound I'm gonna sound elitist if I don't term this phrase properly. How do I term it? maybe it's not even a character thing. Maybe it's an actual maturity thing with software development. I think there's a lot of people that are they want to be better, so they listen to the people who can shout the loudest, the people who can put out the content, the people who can say, "Here's how to do this. Here's why you should be doing this. Here's what I think." No one ever says, "Here's what I think." They say, "Here's how to do this. Here's the right way of doing this." And people in a desire to become better feel that they should follow that advice. But the problem is that it often comes with a limited range. And once you've exceeded that range and you're back onto thinking for yourself, you've got to go and find something else. And that advice might not come from the same person. So then you end up with conflicting code and conflicting patterns. And you've got to figure out how to jumble all this mess together to make working software. As you grow, as a developer, you should be thinking for yourself and making more pragmatic choices, making decisions that you understand how your code works over just following what someone told you to do. And I think that's the most important thing. And again, whatever code base you're working in, whatever patterns and practices are current, you'll be able to follow along with and understand why you don't like something or why you do. But I don't think you should be telling other people, do this, do this. I think it should all be, here's how I do this, and listening to feedback and understanding. Um, it's really the question of, if the Spring Boot code isn't working, does that mean your Kafka stuff should fail? Test uses some async utils to wait for stuff, but sometimes it still crashes, and I'm not sure why, because it's about 10% of the test and needs much more time to figure out and fix. This test lives now in the code base, and from time to time I just have to restart the pipe. The justification. I'm introducing new patterns in my code base. Some patterns would be good. Assuming you're talking about your work and not your personal project, in which case that was a very insulting thing. When um, using base acquire and entity does not exist. One deflips. Entity is created. So, all those tests I just deleted. I shouldn't have deleted yet because I kind of need one of them. I kind of need all the structure. So, morning. This code base is maybe anti-JavaScript jQuery. Yeah. Now I do a cool thing and use my Postgres to query and JSON stuff in it. Yeah, deflux, it's not working. Okay, so we need to refactor that a little bit, but yeah. Okay, so this is going to be the fake fake acquire, that handler, and um hoping you would do that. Do you remember how time works, defaults? Considering which side of the planet, which side of the world you're from. Have you not slept again or something? You burning the candle at both ends. So we need a lock service. I still think this is the worst name in the history of names. It's about as generic and nope. Substitute for lock service. What we're doing here is validating that we call. So again, each of the one of these is going to use the lock service, but it doesn't need to do it to do its job, right? This one I'm going to validate that I call lock, and I can't test that the lock is going to block me from doing anything, but yeah. Entity. Oh, that has to be that. That has to be that. And entity does not exist. Entity does not exist. That's not exist, is it? And when using actually, let's do it this way. Base entity exists. Let's cheat. I've screwed up the test. Therefore, let's not waste the energy. View base is view entity. Oh, so what does fake acquire is an acquire base view base entity? That'll be why. This is an arranged act. Okay. So result contains ID of the existing tenant. Hold on. I've just got a sudden. I assume that this will block once it hits, and it can't. Yeah, we're going to learn something here. Just had a entity exists. That lock is required. Lock service dot require lock. Arg dot is this should be that. Arg dot me cancellation token dot received. That lock is released. Lock service. No. private I lock handle. I've got mixed of planning items and tenants and all sorts in here, so that's probably not good. Handles. So we need to do lock service dot acquire lock arg is any cancellation token. So defaults, how's the task to get the team onto new standards going? Or is that what you're actually alluding to? You're not really feeling that. Returns info new. This is not fun. Oh, we can do this. We can yeah, not really feeling it. I'm indeed up on the third screen. Sorry to hear that, man. Just work in progress. Persevere. I know the feeling. Get some time in. It's payday on Wednesday. Well, so so that'd be a result period. Is a result. That's not that. That's it's an integer, not a period. Expected entity ID. This is not going to be fun. Returns info. So acquire lock will return substitute for I lock handle. Do that. Then we can do handle dot received. So handle is a mock that we are constructing when we call another thing. Return receives release arg that any cancellation token. So again, we're just validating that we require the lock, we release the lock, and we actually return results contains ID of entity. So we're testing the generic behavior of the base class by creating a fake version, a fake implementation. That way we can control the behavior of this in any way we want. So here we're going to say, okay, well, we already have one. Expected entity identifier. Right, get rid of all the tenants and planning it. Yeah, that's not applying item messages now. So let's try and run those tests. There you go. Now let's try entity does not exist. Does not exist. So this one, this will return nothing. And we are testing I mean, we're technically testing that as part of them anyway. But we want to again validate the lock is created and whatnot. But I don't want to test the lock for every single one of these. I had to drop for work things. Thank you for the stream. I should have a stream happening later in the week, prepping for a friend's wedding this week. Thanks, Apex. Well, always post when you're starting the stream, and yeah, if I can, I'll be there. Apex is building a game in Godot. If you haven't been there before, I recommend checking him out. He's doing all sorts of cool stuff with that as well, so highly recommend. But have a great day, mate. Apex. Thank you. Okay. So I got to finish up here soon. So let's get this. An entity exists, an entity does not exist. So we're going to create the entity. We want to validate that tenant is created. So we're going to create entity is created on here, right? So entity is created. Repository. Fake view entity. Expected entity identifier. We don't have a name, so that's fine. We don't need anything more than that. We want to validate that. And this should fail, because what we're validating here is that we call the create on the fake implementation. And that should error with a throw not implemented. There you go. So because it throws, that happens. So let's go back to our fake view entity with a fake acquire and return new fake view entity. Identifier equals identifier. This should still fail. The reason being, I don't have an entity ID, right? Nothing says that. So what I can do here is repository dot when r goes to r dot add async arg dot is f goes to f dot identifier f that is f dot identifier equals expected identifier. Then do info goes to info dot arg fake view entity ID equals. I think you can do that, which basically gets the argument and sets its ID. There you go. So when we actually call add, we'll set the ID to the expected ID. And there we go. So that's oh my goodness, all those icons now, Twitch. Collaborate with so many people. Um Gotta be careful I don't click on the wrong icon anymore as well. We'll have to explore collaboration. Maybe we can get some collab streams going. Maybe Defaults wants to do some collab streams. So yeah, acquire. I don't think unless this blocks, right? In acquire base, unless that blocks there when I'm acquiring the log, I don't think that's going to work. I think that's going to not behave the way I expect it to do, but I don't have enough time to test that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit this, push up my branch and give it a test. If it doesn't work, TT7 collab streams, nice. Yeah, I have to get set up for that. That'd be fun. Gaming streams on the weekends. That'd be cool. We'll have to investigate. Racing streams sound fun. But anyway, what am I doing? Yeah, so I will push this and commit this. So no streams from me for the rest of the week. I am traveling to Texas tomorrow, and I'll be back very early Friday morning. So I do not want to be not want to be trying to stream after all that travel. So yep. Yeah, but next week I will be why is the Discord command not working? Streamlabs should have that. I mean, it's in the cards below if you're interested. I think you know where the Discord is though. Unless you're trying to get a link for other people. Yeah, so if you're interested in joining the Discord, yep, it's enabled. It should give you that. Interesting. It didn't do. Oh well, Streamlabs is trash. Yeah, I'll be back on Monday, but next week I have off work, so the streams will be longer all next week. Maybe not hours longer, but definitely longer. So yeah, cool. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, we'll see. We're going to join someone who we haven't been to join in a little while because I don't think I've seen his streams. Spire. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll go away tick tick. Take care all. Have a great rest of your day and I'll see you around. That's ending. No, I didn't put my ending button in. I lost all my stuff. See you later all.